Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a brilliant tool that literally changes the game for handling complex 3D geometry. If you've ever pulled your hair out over massive, unorganized meshes, well, you're going to absolutely love what we've got lined up.
Seriously, ever wished you could just instantly split a messy mesh into meaningful regions? Think about the last time you imported an AI-generated mesh, a 3D scan, or some super dense hard surface model. You bring the thing in and bam! It's just one massive, uneditable blob. I mean, sure, it looks fantastic in the render, but trying to actually work with it, it makes you want to throw your keyboard across the room.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the messy mesh problem. Second, a faster in-Blender solution. Third, tuning with live preview. Fourth, cleaning up the debris. Fifth, extraction and exploded views. And finally, number 6, limitations and alternatives.
All right, Section 1. The messy mesh problem, importing massive, single-object geometry.
When you pull in these modern assets, especially straight from AI pipelines or photogrammetry, they usually arrive as a single continuous piece. And look, manual separation of panels, shells, and limbs, it's just a brutally slow, tedious bottleneck. You're left manually clicking and dragging over tiny polygons, praying you don't miss a single spot, wasting hours of valuable production time just trying to organize what you just imported.
Which brings us to Section 2, a faster in-Blender solution, the Mesh Face Groups add-on.
This is a tool built specifically for technical artists and pipeline builders to create mesh mixer-style face groups right in your viewport. And the difference between the old way and the new way is basically night and day. The old way meant manual selection and slow, frustrating round trips, exporting out of Blender, opening Mesh Mixer, segmenting, and re-importing. But the new way? Instant live preview, staying entirely in Blender. No round trips, no broken workflows. It's incredible.
As you can see, the visual evolution here is striking. On one side, you have the classic external Mesh Mixer interface we all used to rely on. On the other, a beautifully clean, direct integration right inside Blender. You just pop open the Face Groups tab in the sidebar and you're off to the races. Best part? You keep total access to all of Blender's materials, modifiers, and export systems while you're working.
Moving on to Section 3, Tuning with Live Preview, Controlling the Grouping Mechanics. One of the absolute best features of this add-on is the Live Preview. Turn it on, and the active mesh instantly recolors. But the core grouping control here, the magic behind it all, is the angle threshold. Basically, the tool evaluates neighboring faces and compares their normals. If those normals point in a similar direction, boom, they group together. But the second there's a sharp change in direction, it starts a brand new group. It's a strictly logical, geometric way of defining surface regions. So, tuning that angle threshold is absolutely going to be your go-to control from model to model. You generally want to start with a baseline of 10 degrees. From there, if your mesh shatters into way too many tiny parts, just increase the value to get fewer, larger groups. But if the groups are too broad and you're losing granular details, decrease the value. It really is that straightforward.
Now, the first pass is rarely perfect, which leads us to Section 4, cleaning up the debris, eliminating speckles and loose geometry. When you're dealing with complex 3D scans, you're inevitably going to get some visual noise. To fix that, the add-on uses a super logical two-part sequence. Step 1 is Small Island Cleanup, which merges tiny, accidental face groups into larger neighboring ones. Step 2 is Floating Island Cleanup, which specifically targets disconnected physical debris. You know, the random floating stuff that isn't even attached to your main mesh. Instead of manually deleting rogue vertices for hours, you just use these exact sidebar controls. You tweaked a small island area and min island faces to quickly merge the speckled bits. For floating debris, you've got similar area and faces sliders to ignore the junk. Or, my personal favorite, you can literally just hit the Delete Floating Islands button and permanently banish them from your mesh. So satisfying. All right, let's get to the real visual payoff. Section 5, Extraction and Exploded Views, Converting Previews into Real Geometry. Once your color-coded preview looks solid, you just hit Separate Groups into Objects. The tool duplicates the source mesh for each group, deletes the outside faces, and generates real, distinct parts. And you get some incredibly useful output toggles here. Make Parts Watertight automatically fills open boundary holes, which is a total lifesaver for 3D printing. Shell Thickness slaps on a Solidify modifier to give flat surfaces physical depth, and Auto Hide Source Mesh simply hides your original unsegmented model so you can immediately focus on the fresh geometry.
Now, check this out.
Once you've extracted the parts, you can toggle on Explode Separated Parts. It physically pushes the newly generated parts away from each other. The even XY spread creates this incredibly satisfying, visually organized grid-like layout. It makes inspecting the results or, honestly, just grabbing some really cool presentation screenshots so much easier.
And you can completely customize how that explosion looks. By default, you can use a center out spread that pushes pieces naturally away from the origin, but you can also limit movement strictly to the X, Y, or Z axes. So say you want all the parts to just slide out flat on a table. You literally just turn off the Z-axis toggle. It's incredibly flexible.
Time for a quick reality check in Section 6, Limitations and Alternatives, Understanding the Tool's Boundaries.
While this tool is ridiculously fast, we need to understand exactly what it is and isn't doing under the hood. There is a very sharp contrast here between geometric grouping and semantic grouping. This add-on uses geometric grouping. It's driven entirely by angle math and connectivity. It literally has no idea what your object actually is. Semantic grouping, on the other hand, is when an AI actually knows, hey, this is an arm or this is a wheel. This tool, it merely responds to surface angles.
Because of that, highly smooth, organic models may still require alternative segmentation tools or a manual editing pass. Angle thresholds absolutely rule for hard surface models and rough scans, but smooth, organic shapes, they often demand a human touch. Which leaves you wondering, how long until future AI seamlessly bridges this exact gap between geometric angles and true semantic understanding right inside our viewports?